Good morning to you. Queen Lorraine is in the house.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, light in the darkness. I can't manage without you, Loza. Can't manage without you. You're a legend. Oh, and look at Kate. Look at the glamour, Lorraine. Look at the glamour. Look at the unicorn print. I can't hear you, Kate, but I'm just looking at your glamour. Sound, my darling. Sound.
It's my cow jumper this morning.
Your cow jumper.
Yes. Not that I eat meat, I don't, but
And you're not a cow, so
I can be, have been.
no, you're nothing but classy. Classy. So, Kate, it's lovely to see you, my darling. And Adrian, look, Adrian, whenever I see you now, I start to get emotional. I was thinking about this during the week, Adrian. We've had so many sort of emotional conversations over the last, 2 or 3 months now. You're just legendary, mate. And I just wanted to make sure I'd said that to you this week.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. That's good to hear because my supervisors just ripped me a new one recently. But it is good. It was good. They're getting me back on track, so it's good. I was kind of getting off track, so it was good. Very good.
Adrian, we may talk about that in other ways. And look, the light of our lives, Megan, is here as well. In terms of, I tell you what, that might be something for us to talk about too, about supervisors and the language that we choose to communicate, which is important. I've just written that down because we may return to that in a second. So Kate's in, our Megan's in. How have we missed Megan and the lady in red herself? Good morning, my queen.
Good morning, everybody. Hello, Tara. Yeah, I've been back on the mainland for a week, and it was just too hard while I was traveling to log in because everybody around me was talking. So sorry.
So, but the mainland is overrated, Megan. Back to Norfolk Island. And look, Adam, mate. So Adam, meet Megan. Megan's joining us from Norfolk Island. So that's where I live in my head a lot of the time with Megan. Obviously not with Megan, but in an adjacent cohabitating type environment. So Adam, good morning, mate.
Good evening from the US.
So happy to see you. You're legendary. And of course, Sue, who basically took over the internet after last week's incredible experience. So I got so many people coming up to me, Sue, in the corridor at CDU going, I saw the thing with Sue. So Sue, Sue's ignoring me. Good morning, Sue. I know she's got a new computer, so that might be. We'll let Sue sort out her new computer. Bless her. I don't know if she can hear us. Kate, you let me know when Sue looks like she's actually found the sound, all right? And Gay, good morning, my darling.
Good morning, Tara. How are you?
Better for seeing you, light in the darkness, you legendary person. And Shell's left us for a moment, although she's famous and just Shell's back. My corridor buddy, good morning, Shell.
Good morning. Hi, everyone.
How's your week been, darling?
Yeah, good. I work Thursday night, so it's always a little bit of a reorientation Friday mornings for my brain.
Well, we're thrilled to be part of that. And the beautiful, and I'm going to have a go, and we're going to find out exactly where we're going here. Thaisia, how have I failed? Thaisia, hello? How are you, beautiful?
Hello.
Now,
how are you?
And now it's beautiful to see you. Explain how badly I pronounced your name then.
No, it's Taisia. That's right, Taisia.
It is.
Thank you.
The most glorious name. So where are you joining us from, my darling one?
The south of United States. So it's New York time, but I'm in North Carolina.
Oh, that's and so Adam, where are you in terms of you two, several relationships being formed and so forth?
Yeah, I'm actually on the East Coast, also in Eastern time. So
yeah. Well, I'm not American. I'm here. So I was hired, and then I was told to come here. I was working from home, and I like it here. It's Charlotte. Actually, the name of the city is Charlotte, from Queen Charlotte, right? It was in honor to her. So it's funny. I don't know anything. I'm Brazilian, so everything for me is new.
Well, from my experience, if you're Brazilian, you know everything. You don't know nothing. You know everything. So look, so we're so excited to have all our friends that are joining us from all over the world, including Norfolk Island, which is everything to us. And look, we've got some things to talk about. I was given homework, but we can talk about something else if you require. So let's just start with the urgent stuff. So is there any sort of fabulous issue that people would like to talk about that's burning, that's worrying them? And that
I
includes
just want to say I don't think Sue is in yet. She's still looking lost.
yes, beautiful, but she is trying. So look, we'll get Sue organised. I'll do an intervention with Sue shortly. Yeah, look, see, she's concentrating. She's got a new computer, as you know, Kate. So as we've all done, we've got new computers. I go, what's my name? There's like double authentication. I've had to do that this morning, Lorraine. I'm trying to examine a thesis from Griffith with great respect for all our colleagues at Griffith. And I'm trying to do, I've become Jack Nicholson, Lorraine. You know, I just want to watch the damn World Series. It's like, I'm just let me get the thesis so I can examine it for you, right? And I've had to give my name, the name of my first stuffed animal, my first car, and you know, then do a pin it. And I'm going, what is it? I'm just give me the thesis. But anyway, so that's fine. So I've ended up going, please just send me the thesis. So colleagues, anything that's an issue for you, because obviously we've got a bit of an issue from Adrian that we'll talk about in generalities, but any issues that would like to start us off as urgent or important. Lorraine, anything from you, mate? Oh, Kate straight in, and then we'll go to Lorraine. Go, Kate.
I just wanted to say that something you said last week, I know it's all good. I have to correct you. I think you said something like, I am an accredited editor. Not yet. I've done the capstone course. I still have to do the exam to be accredited. So,
but aren't you doing
doing
the exam shortly, Kate?
I don't know if I'll do it. It's so hard. English grammar and this capstone course is so much harder than I ever thought. And I actually now know that I don't want to be an editor. I'm just so happy with all the court cases I have every day, 7 days a week. I'll stick to that.
And look, Gay, obviously, here's one we prepared earlier. Gay, do you want to speak to that?
Accreditation for editors in Australia is horrendous and expensive, and it only happens every 2 years. The exam itself only happens every 2 years. Now, doing it with capstone would have given you some information, but unless you've done a fair bit of editing in the profession, like I said, it's horrendously hard, and it takes some people several goes at $600 a pop. To me, it's not worth it. None of my clients have ever asked me if I'm accredited. I have more than 20 years of academic editing in my background, and I do a damn good job. I don't be accredited. And at my stage of life, I mean, I'm not at the beginning of my career. If I was the beginning of my career, then maybe I would look at accreditation. But Kate, you don't need it.
And both of you are magnificent writers. So again, what you would do, and for our students that may be watching this, either on the call or watching it later on, always ask the editor to show examples of their work. I think that's always the archetype of it. So show us examples of people you've worked with. Often you have statements from students that you've worked with. And so get that sort of testimony. And I think that's meaningful. Go for it, Kate.
You can get testimonials, absolutely. But the relationship between an editor and the client is confidential, and we cannot, without permission from the author, actually give you examples of what we have done. What we can do is a sample edit for you.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So you can see the sorts of things that we do, or you can see whether the sorts of things that I do and whether we would work together.
Yes. And also, sorry, go Kate.
When I decided to sign up with Capstone, they said it's a 4-month course, and I thought, oh no, it'll take me a couple of weeks. No, it's really difficult, and they quote a lot of the information from the iPad accreditation. Is that the one you're talking about, Gay?
Yep.
Which is international, I think. But there's so many things
Oh.
I've learned. And right at the beginning, I thought that I would like to edit theses, copy edit, proofread. I don't want to do substantive editing, and I hate referencing lists.
I love referencing.
Do you? Over the course of the 4 months, I've just finished the 4 months, I've decided I actually don't want to look at another thesis. I just want to do the court reports.
And fair enough too, but I mean, Kate, all learning, I'm a bit obsessed by this as we all are on our aging journey, getting closer to death. I'm a big believer in trying new things, getting the brain moving in different ways. I think it's basically aerobics for the brain. So I think that's an absolute blessing. I think that's brilliant. So well,
it has, and I've learned heaps, and what I've learned, I will now put into my court reports. Better English, better grammar, a comma here and a whatever.
Exactly.
It wasn't lost, nothing lost, or
Yeah.
always something gained. But
Kudos to you for finishing it, Kate. Well done.
Yeah, absolutely. And as my 93-year-old mother would say, no learning is ever wasted. And I believe exactly with what she said here. Oh, and Sue is just firing up another computer. Well done, Sue. How many computers does one woman need? You go, Sue. So look, we'll start if you like. Lorraine, I just want to check with you because we haven't touched base with you in a while. Are there any sort of pressing issues for you before we go to an Adrian matter?
No, I'd be very interested to hear on supervisors, as you started the session with. I loved your series about the personalities, different kind of supervisors. I found that really helpful. So I'm really interested to hear what you've got.
Lorraine, you're amazing. That was my series that we've paused while I'm doing Outrider and in Darwin. But yes, it was the Great Post series, which I have a great fondness for. And I did a very naughty micro series in the Post, because the Post was a very naughty series of videos, very naughty, from New Zealand. And it was on, I think, what I call it, the pernicious PhD supervisor. I may punch that out and do an audiobook. And what did I have? I had like, I think I had the unicorn. I had all sorts of, the bowerbird. I think I had the predator. So look, and they were a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs, and of course there was a lot of accuracy there. But look, Adrian just raised an issue, and he's got wonderful supervisors. But he just raised the issue about, look, what was your great phrase, Adrian? You've been torn a new one, I believe. Was that the technical phrase, brother? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Very technical.
Very technical. And look, a very interesting friend, colleague, someone I've ever met, but sort of met online, said something very funny to me this morning, that in universities we have the highest level of education that exists taught by the worst teachers in the world. And I laughed. See, Lorraine, I was there too. I laughed like a banshee. And you go, oh, that's terrible. And then you sort of go, yes, well, academics very, very rarely have teaching qualifications. So they've got the content, but of course, teaching is not just about expertise and content. You need that. It's about understanding form. And Adrian, it's really tough to get supervisors to do any supervisory PD, professional development of any kind. We have to have mandatory training. We have to have supervisory registers. And at CDU, we ask that our colleagues do 10 minutes of a little tiny podcast once a year. So they do 10 minutes of an infusion of an idea and write 250 words, and that keeps them on the register. And Adrian, the degree of people that go, I haven't got time to do 10 minutes. Like I'm like, nah, you woman, I bloke, nah. So it's very difficult to bring people to professional development. And the cost of that, Adrian, is that supervisors continue to supervise as they were supervised. So it's homology. And those of us that were taught when we were much younger, very young students, that we were treated like, posh people supervised us. And it was tough, and it was tough love, and it was either do it or don't do it. I'm not going to help you, go and do it your own way. And we have research now that shows what best practice in supervision actually looks like. We actually know what's required to get students through, to have mental health intact, their families intact. We have that research. So without professional development, the supervisors don't get that. And so it just means we all continue to probably overshare and continue the abuse narrative and the trauma narrative that we all went through. So the key is always, you can do robust feedback, but it can be in languages of kindness. and it's about learning an andragogy. It's about, you know, I am your supervisor, supervision. So let me care for you and take you on your journey. And I don't think there's any need in higher education for language of brutality or violence or rudeness or aggression. I don't. And as someone who's, I think this is my 10th university in 30 years in 4 countries, I've seen some shocking stuff. I've seen colleagues top themselves from bad behaviour from deans and so forth. So I've seen the cost of brutalising language, and I think we need to stop the trauma now. I think we can offer robust, caring, intellectual feedback, but we are intellectuals, and so we need to have that intellectual commentary without, and just turn the abuse down a bit, because it has consequences. And yes, Adrian, it's like, oh yes, well, they were right, but with the greatest respect, they may be right, but it was delivered in the wrong package. And you have to recover from the traumatizing, brutalizing language before you can get to the content. Whereas with my students, I go, right, well, this worked really well. This worked really well. Now, this is a bit of a challenge. Let's talk about why. And what that means, Adrian, is they don't have to unpack the brutalizing language. They can just get on with the intellectual work.
Can I just add as well, I think it's compounded by the fact that it's a distance ed. I'm doing this all alone. I'm in Tasmania. They're in other parts of Australia, and so you don't pick up the nuances in what they say. And so my first reading of some of their comments was like, holy crap, I need to show someone this. This is, you wouldn't read about this. This is just so blatantly rude. But then another reading of it, I'd just be like, oh, actually, I could read that a different way. Maybe they are being supportive, but they're just kind of phrasing it in a way that, you know, because me in my position, it says more about my position as a kind of novice researcher, looking for some sense of validation in my writing, but then but then not expecting them to give me that. But at the same time, it's kind of like, oh, I hope you know where I'm coming from. Maybe they don't. So anyway, we're working to get on the same page, but I take your point. I probably shouldn't be apologizing for them, given their supervisory position, but I don't know. It's an interesting study in human dynamics.
Look, and Adrian, you're a lovely human being. You're a wonderful person, and I think it's important as doctorates increasingly are digitally supervised, and all my students are digitally supervised, that we again, it's about professional development. We actually teach supervisors what the digital doctorate looks like and the importance of modality, and when we give track changes, how we do that with kindness. We follow up with feedback face-to-face. We have a package of care through care around that student, right? Because it's all about you. It's not about them. Yeah. Beautiful Gay wants to have a chat. Talk to us, Gay.
As well as being an editor, I am a PhD coach, and the most common problem that people come to me about is supervision.
Yes.
I think every single student I have coached has some sort of issue with supervisors, and a lot of the times it's power plays. A lot of the time it's, as you said, Tara, they do not have training in how to do it.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I encourage my coaching clients to do is to teach their supervisors how they need to be supervised, because they just do not get, they don't get it.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't get it.
And
so, Adrian, what I'm trying to say is, unfortunately, you're not alone.
Yeah.
This happens all the time.
Oh, absolutely. And the characteristic of the students that finish and the students that don't finish is the quality of supervision. The only critique I'd offer on that, Gay, and Adrian, this is important. I hate the phrase managing up. And I think students and junior colleagues, junior workers justify bad decisions and justify bad behaviour by saying, oh, right, well, I'll just have to manage up. I'll just have to manage my supervisor. Well, no, the supervisor is the empowered person. The supervisor is paid to supervise you. And if they're not able to control themselves and control their emotional and intellectual space, then they need to be called out for their behaviour rather than other people having to manage them. I really don't like that.
Yeah, okay. I understand what you're saying. What I was actually meaning was in terms of supervisors often do not give feedback
Oh yeah.
that the student can work with. So in those sorts of circumstances, I would say to them, ask when you're giving a piece of work to your supervisor, ask specific questions that you need them to answer, which is a way of teaching them how to support them. So yeah,
absolutely beautiful. I think the only problem with that always, Gay, is that the student is the student, and I respect the student, and students don't always know what they need because they're learning. So that's always the other challenge as well. So I'm a big believer that supervisors should be grown-ups, just like leaders should be grown-ups, and not expecting people in a disempowered position to make up for their inelegance. Let's use a classy word. Let's go to beautiful Kate. Talk to us, Kate, and then I'm going to go to Megan. But go, Kate, talk to me, Angel.
Just another way to look at supervision. Many of you heard about my supervisor in a previous university. Now, we'd had a fabulous relationship for 15 years. I worked with her. I did my MPH with her. I had done some years of the PhD with her. Wonderful personality. We had lunch together. We've been to each other's homes, blah, blah, blah. And one day, after her brother died from a brain tumor, she changed. I mean, 360. Personality change, nasty to me, abusive. It's all on tape recordings. Yeah. Said all sorts of weird things to me in meetings, wanted me to fudge my data. And that's when I went to see the dean in absolute, quiet, please don't say anything to her, because I was worried about her health.
Yeah.
And as many of you know, she died recently from a brain tumor. Well, even though I hated what was happening to me as a student,
yes,
I hate it more than that she died, because she's gone from my life after 20 years.
Yes.
But now I want to know why the dean did not listen and perhaps help her.
Correct.
I sort of handed over to him. And again, everything was tape recorded, all the things she said privately and on tape. But it wasn't her fault. I believe she was ill right from the start, because of this, because I'd known her for so many years. And seeing this huge, incredible, horrible personality change. And, I'd handed in my thesis. I got an A and a D and did all the corrections I was supposed to do. And then I took the thesis back to the graduate research office, which they were going to send back to that examiner. And weeks went by, and I called the office, and the young lass said to me, "Oh, your thesis is still sitting here." And I said, "Why wasn't it sent?" She said, "Oh, your supervisor said not to send it." So I left the university and started all over again. Yeah. So I want deans to actually listen. And the other professors I spoke to, I went to them and I said, "Look, something's wrong. Something's terribly wrong."
Yes.
I don't know if they listened to me or but no, I don't think so.
So
anyway,
look,
just Kate, looking at another side.
Yeah, so Kate, that's brilliant. And that's also a failure of leadership. That's what I mean about students are not responsible for the bad behavior of their supervisors. And look, supervisors die, supervisors get sick, supervisors get divorced, all sorts of terrible things happen. And it's about us as the grown-ups also. And that's why I'll go to Megan in a second, because she's the most grown-up person I know. But it's about us as grown-ups. When a terrible thing happens, that we self-actualize and we self-manage, and we don't displace onto students. And in Kate's case, where a colleague had a mental incident and that was reported, the first priority as a dean, and this is just me oversharing, this is what we do in this business, our first priority is to scoop out the student and render the student culturally safe. So that is the first thing we do whenever any matter, sexual, research misconduct, academic misconduct, any of those sort of issues. The first thing we do is time out, Kimmy, time out. We scoop out the student and we address the matters separately and see what's going on, get actual data sets, see if it can be reconciled. But if not, the student's safety is the priority. Well said. So Megan, you obviously do this for a living like the wonderful Gay does. Any because obviously you do a lot of work on leadership as well. And, and leadership failures are catastrophic, mate.
Absolutely. And there's so many different leadership models and supervision models that don't take into account the charisma that's required for a transfer of knowledge between people. Now, Adrian, I 100% understand your situation because I also am incredibly isolated. I'm reliant even on the weather for having good internet. So I get it. And I don't have anybody here that I can just go and talk to about what did you do in your methodology? Look, how did you write this up? Or what do you think about this piece of feedback? So I'm lucky that my husband's really intelligent and he's a dickhead as well. So, so it's great. Yeah. And he would disagree with you, Tara, that I'm a growing up. He's always saying to me, you are such a child. Yeah. And I have no intention of growing up. So I'm okay with where I'm at. Yes. But a couple of things have struck me. One is an onion. Like when we're all learning something, it's like peeling the skins off an onion and you get to the core. And I don't think supervision has the time to sometimes do that. I certainly do as a supervisor, but it's also because of my background.
Yeah.
I'm a mental health accredited social worker, so I'm used to doing that. And perhaps academics aren't used to doing that. They don't understand active listening or deep listening or even styles of communication, and particularly written communication. And to that point, what has struck me is what comes first, chicken or the egg? We think first, then we have, there's an emotion that's released from the brain. We have a thought, and that thought embodies in our body. So that's the feeling. And then there's the behavior. So I find that changing your thought about a written piece of feedback has a great positive effect on the outcome. And to take away the terrible feelings of depression or, feeling just awful about what's been written down about you.
Yeah.
And Tara, I took some solace from one of your videos where you talked about the privilege of doing a PhD, and like 1% of the population do this, and receiving feedback from another academic is actually a privilege. So when I've received tough feedback and I immediately want to be defensive, I change my thought immediately and go, this is a privilege to have this. I'm going to get through this PhD. I'm going to be 1% of the population. I'm okay. I can put my big girl blouse on and, or panties and deal with this. So Adrian, I hope that that's helpful, but I'm really happy to connect with you as well. I love Tasmania. And for us, it was either Tasmania or Norfolk Island, and Norfolk Island won. But yeah, I get the isolation. It's horrid.
Well, I'm about to move to Kiribati, so I'll be north of you.
From one climate to another.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
guess what?
I'm born and grew up in Papua New Guinea. Yeah, those extremes. Yes.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'll just handle beautiful Sue for a second. So Megan, I understand that you're doing so brilliantly. And look, Adrian and Megan, in terms of isolation, you're not isolated because you're with us every week. So you have those chats with us. You have, look at the rain, you have a piece of paper. You got stacks of paper around your office, Megan. You have a piece of paper, and when you want to have a chat with somebody, just during the week, write a Post-it note down, and then pull out the bloody Post-it notes on Friday morning, and down we go, mate. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm very appreciative of that. So thank you, Tara.
Oh, well, no, you're our love. You're everything, Megan. You're amazing. And look, Adrian, I've done this particularly for the last year or so, which has been a pretty tough year for Jamie and I. I've used this windshield wiper metaphor a lot in my life. So when something bonkers happens, and my goodness me, I've seen some weird stuff and some dreadful behaviors in the last 18 months or so. I mean, stuff that just you go, you need to be taken out to the car park and someone needs to have a chat, right? But Adrian, what I do is I have this windscreen wiper where I go, where someone says the unsayable and you just go, woo, 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 woo. So you see if there's any interesting content there. So is there content that is meaningful for me? And you just take the emotion, you just push that to the side of your brain. And I actually do it in my brain like, that's an important point. The rest of it's rubbish. Thanks for playing. Now, Shell, you're the other wise human that I know in my life, and I rely very deeply on Shell on a daily, nay, weekly basis. But Shell, have you got any, because you're an amazing teacher, you're one of the greatest teachers I've ever seen, have you got any vibe on how we help our supervisory colleagues behave better and behave like more effective educators, understanding that supervision is teaching?
It's a good question, and I'm not sure I have insights. I think I'm new in this space, and I've been very blessed with the supervisors I've had. And I think because I knew I would need support, I was really picky in making sure that I was set up for success. Yeah, I don't have anything deeply insightful except to take care. I think we are responsible for ourselves and just the architects of our own destinies in some way. And so, yeah.
I'll push you, Shell. Why are they so good? And they are brilliant. They are amazing. And all I'd say is you chose them and they chose you. And it was, you focused a lot of time on the relationship, Shell. This is just as an outsider watching you in the corridor. You focused on the relationship first and the thesis second.
So for me, it's always been really important to stay true to what I believe is right. And I feel like that part of the conversation for me is having aligned intent, because if we're on board with the overarching intent, how we get there is up for debate every day, in any way. And I'm always open to doing it better, doing it differently, thinking differently. But if we are all, if I trust that my supervisor understands where I'm going, and there's a level of belief too. For me, it's about believing and guiding and supporting. So there are times, where I've received a lot of feedback, and there are times when I've just been like the doors have been wide open, and it's just see what's possible and just go for gold. And I've just been very grateful in those moments, because I feel a huge overwhelm in either circumstances, but for different reasons. But underneath those, the supervisors were amazing, because I trusted that I wasn't in those situations unless I was, they believed that I could do something and come up with something in that space. But also, as I was learning, and part of that learning is figuring out what I can't do, because that's why I'm here, that those people had the skill sets to wrap around me, provide some guidance, and sort of shove me out of the nest a little bit more.
Does anybody else feel changed? I whenever I talk to Shell, I just feel like you're like sorbet for my brain and my life, Shell. I feel fresh. But do you see what happened there, Adrian? She has opened herself to learning, knowing that her supervisors have got her, that she can jump and the net will appear. There's trust. You heard the word trust there a lot. And I think that's what we need to work on. We need to work on the relationship to build the trust that can then build the knowledge. And Professor Quinton, a very, very handsome man, has joined us. So Jamie, obviously you and I have supervised together, but you had supervised 20 plus students before you even met me. So what's your vibe on this, darling?
So thank you. I want to say that Shell, in one of the words she used was really critical, and it was the word blessed, right? Mm-hmm. So when you have the power differential between the supervisors and the students, usually there's a problem because the supervisor's got some sense of entitlement and they've forgotten that it's a privilege to supervise. So if you're going to manage up, bringing together, comments that Gay made and Kate made, in addition to Adrian, if you're going to manage up, I think you should have that conversation with the supervisor where you say, our relationship underpins our capacity to achieve in this PhD, right? So you're taking control. You're saying, it's my PhD. I need your guidance and I need your support, but respect and trust is a two-way street. I respect you and I trust you, and I'm hoping that I can rely on you for your part in this journey. I'll do my part in the journey. But just remind them, like if you put words in their mind when you're saying from your side, it's a privilege to work with them and access their expertise. I'm hoping that I can be of value to you in the same way, so that you're reminding them of the blessing of the privilege, rather than I'm here to do your bidding, which I think a lot of supervisors expect. And that's where you can do your part to manage up, and we should be doing our part to also have those tea room conversations with the staff, so that they're reminded that the student's not there just for their benefit.
Yes, exactly right, Jamie. And in fact, I said in a particular meeting yesterday that got a little bit robust, that supervision is a privilege. It's not a right. PhD supervision is a privilege, and it's a privilege which must be not only earned, but must be continually refreshened and refashioned for new circumstances. How we supervise now is not remotely how we supervised even 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago. This is a different thing now, and we have very good doctoral studies, very good research now that shows what works and what doesn't. And also, you know, for beautiful Adam and Thasia, that it shows what works in particular nation states, and then studies about how that can be transferable knowledge, right? Sometimes the knowledge about a doctorate in Canada or in Greece doesn't move. Sometimes it does, and we learn international best practice and we improve. Beautiful Gay.
Jamie said that PhD students should stand up for themselves, and I agree. However, when there is this overt power differential, standing up for yourself can backfire. It certainly backfired for me. I stood up for myself when my supervisor was being disgusting, and he basically abandoned me. Yeah. The university would do nothing because he brought in lots of money. Yep. But so I'm just putting it out there that standing up for yourself is what you should be doing, because after all, PhD students are adults, supervisors are adults, and you should be treated as an adult, not as a child. I mean, my supervisor treated me like a kindergartner until I transferred to the PhD, and then I was a high school student, basically. So the power differential is real, and you need to be very careful about how you deal with certain types of supervisor.
Oh, look, absolutely right. But what I would say to you, Gay, that's also why people like me now exist in universities. That's why deans of graduate studies, deans of graduate research, officers of graduate studies, because this is a specialist area. And we're often the most unpopular human on a university campus. And the reason we're often the most, aren't we, Shell? I'm so unpopular at CDU. We're often so unpopular because we say stuff like, here is the staff code of conduct. You've just broken 3A, B, C. I'm reporting you to your line manager. Bye, Felicia. And bullying legislation, sexual assault, sexual harassment legislation. Excuse me, colleagues. So there is now a policy suite, and the reason policies and governance exists is to protect and support the students. So bad stuff happens, but policies exist to mitigate and normalise the parameters of behaviour and patterning that exists in our universities. Now, it sometimes fails, but Adrian, did you want to speak, or you were just grabbing a water there, brother? Just grabbing a water. I'll go to Thasia if I can, because you were offering a great comment now that you've finished your PhD, my love. What happened to you in your journey, darling?
Let's just talk about this horror story, right? So I wanted to do something very different. In Brazil, I studied at the best university I could. I studied mathematics. I love mathematics, but I also wanted to, in Brazil, we have many natural rocks, right? Brazil is an old place, so we can find many crystals. And I had been to caves, and I wanted to know how crystals grow, you know, because crystals have this shape. They know how to grow, right? They are not animals, but they have this perfect shape. So that is very difficult. And I was always going after people. How do I do the mathematical model for crystals? How do I do this geometry? And it turns out, first, no one cares because we have good enough approximations. If the engineers are good, if the physicists can do whatever in the computer or in the lab, no one cares about the eternal mathematical truth. So it was like, I really wanted, I am in love still with this topic. So after many things, nobody does this. I met people who invited me to places, and I was a guest in Canada for a while, a very important institute of mathematics. I met people that told me, don't go this way, no one will give you money. This is very hard. The only model we know is very hard to waste time. And there's honestly no one we know everybody. We know the 300 people in the world interested in that. No one is advising. So, don't do that. Everybody gave up this area. See what they are doing, because researchers need money, right? You won't get any grants. And I said, all right, no, I will insist. Like the good idiot. I had my business already. I did other stuff in parallel, but I didn't want to just do, the PhD. No, it's a piece of paper. If you don't have passion, it's a piece of paper, right? So I didn't want to do something just for having a degree. After a number of experiences, this guy who was a criminal, or he was a criminal, this guy, my advisor, he invited, I'm not a genius, I'm not famous, but he found me, invited me, offered me this scholarship and tuition at the State University of New York. So it's not like Trump University. It was not a scam. It sounded like a scam because I'm not famous. I'm like, okay, I got some nice stuff going on, but I mean, there are more important people than me, like better students, so why? I never know this guy or anybody related to him. So he invited me, and I said, yes, I will go. I will go to New York. I'm going to the state of New York, at the biggest campus. The biggest public campus in New York is in Buffalo. I love the area because it was easy for me to go to Canada, where I had been before. I love Toronto. I was in Toronto before when I was a guest there. I worked in Germany as well. And I wasn't a doctor. I wasn't even a master at that point. I wasn't even a master. So I just trusted this guy because I thought, okay, this guy is weird, but he's inviting me. He's the chair. Like he has a 50-year career. He can't be a scam, right? I will go. And I got this nice scholarship, and it was funny. And he would threaten other people, but he was very nice to me. And he only had a problem. No one could go to conferences. No one could take any other courses. He saw me with my books. He said, why are you reading books? Just do what I tell you to do. I'll give you the data set. You crank the code. I will give you the PhD. And he told me this so many times that one day I was like, oh, he will give me the PhD because he needs to have graduate students. He needs the numbers to grow. That he is going to literally give me a piece of paper. So I said, all right, okay. I had other stuff going on well there, but he also started to mess up because he was the chair as well. So he threatened everybody, including other co-advisors that I got. At some point, he never told me that, but my co-advisor said, he forbid us to talk to you from now on. So we'll have that paper, which only now we publish, like 4-5 years later. Like everything was delayed. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Oh, I made a horrible mistake. I arrive in August, late August. In November, he says, we're going to publish our first paper. I said, really? Yeah, this paper. I said, well, I didn't do anything. Like, I just arrived. I didn't even take my final exams of my first semester. Yeah, but your name is going there. And I said, Professor, please don't do that, because people will say, oh, your first paper here, because I only had one paper, but it was like not a real paper, non-indexed, and it was a very simple thing that I did alone before. And he was offended when I said, don't put my name on papers I didn't write. So in the end, he was not the typical arrogant guy that we know that we'll find at university. He was a weird guy that was very nice, and then like a monster, he would hide things, and I don't know what the hell is going on. So what the hell was going on is he was stealing money. His wife is a politician, not even a famous politician, but he was stealing money. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought a big fight. My complaints went to Washington. Yeah. I can't tell the whole story, but it was like, oh, that's why. He's a rat. He's a piece of shit. He should be in jail. He shouldn't be here. Like, I'm not dealing with like, oh, the ego of this professor. No, I'm dealing with a criminal. He should be in jail. That's the point. But then I finished my PhD under threat and threatening him back. It was horrible. And I want him to die.
Yeah.
And I want to do another PhD.
Oh, mate. Can I just say, this is why, and it's so weird we're having this conversation, because I've been sort of trying to explain to colleagues about why governance is required in the doctoral space and why the pure white light of transparency is required in the doctoral space. And we need to put a spotlight on behaviours rather than having sort of little microclimates of quality assurance, as I've described them. We need we need the cleansing bleach to move through international higher education to get rid of behaviours such as that. And I'm going to go to Adam in 1 second, who I think was agreeing all the way through that. But Jamie, darling, you and I have worked at a university, and you know it happened 3 weeks when I just started in one of my former jobs, where PhD students were described as slaves by senior colleagues. They were described as slaves, and the room laughed at that description. That was funny. So this behaviour sort of needs to stop. Jamie, you got a point on that?
I've kind of been mumbling in the chat. It's part of the socialization, and I would call that 1980s kind of behavior, and that's kind of at the heart of the stale pale male label, right? Yeah, I mean, that's you're describing in detail that entitlement I was talking about, right? So some supervisors think that having graduate students is an entitlement. And I'm really sorry to hear about your experience, Thaisha, but I do congratulate you and applaud you for keeping a good grip on your integrity. Your integrity, I say this to students all the time, right? It takes years to build your integrity, and it takes seconds to lose it. And if someone, I really hate these players who are politically minded, or they, I'm going to do you a favor, which means you now owe me a favor, right? I've seen senior colleagues do that before too. And it's not about the candidate or the candidature at all. It's about, what they can get out of it, which is really not the point. My comments before, so I was just going to say quickly, to Gay, I'm sorry that you felt that you were kind of caught in that trap. If you find yourself in that situation where you stand up for yourself and you go, look, this doesn't work for me, it's better to walk away, and it's better to find a rescue supervisor or find a different supervisor. And when you go looking for that supervisor, actually measure whether they care about your candidature or whether they care about what they can get out of it. And fundamentally, that's really the main thing to look for.
So well said. Beautiful. And Thaisha, my darling, just so you know, I mean, you probably don't know, but Jamie and I are actually married. We actually sleep together. Not sadly.
I know. I'm your fan.
Because we're in different countries at the moment, but we think about it. Oh, we think about it. But can I say? But can I say, Thaisha, darling, Jamie is an experimental physicist, and his first real training was in mathematics. So I saw his face, just was so excited. And just so you know, mathematicians are so precious to me. They're precious to our universities. You are so important. There are so few beautiful mathematicians on our planet, and you matter so much to us. So never think no one cares. The moment you said that, I was locked in, and you're stuck with me for the rest of your life. Your brain is a gift to the planet, all right? You are that precious, all right?
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, I could say more. We have many people here, but yeah, this was horrible. I tried to summarize the story, but it was like, what happened is I was very afraid, but when I wasn't afraid anymore to go to jail, whatever, because he also threatened my friend who lost everything. He lost his PhD at the very end. It was locked down already. He's African. He was a great student. His father died. He was mourning. And then he was kicked out of the department. When we finished that call, I said, fuck everybody. I'm going to jail. I don't even care. In the end, I didn't go to jail, but his career ended. But we lose everything. Like, I had 2 postdoc positions. I said, I will burn all the university. I don't care. I don't want this. I work at a bank. Jesus, this is not my life, but now I have money so I can study online and meet people. I'm starting again, It was like, I risked everything. I really had to take the risk. I said, whatever. I worked many years for this, and I don't care anymore if they will sue me, but this guy is a criminal. So we can't always do that. We can't. I don't have a family, like I'm not married, so I could do crazy stuff, you know.
So I adore you. You've made me feel a bit crazy for the day too. I'm going to take more risk. I'm going to do some weird stuff. I might get to 60 kilometers an hour rather than my usual 40
Oh my
kilometers
God.
an hour. No, I might just get up to 60 today. Take a bit
No,
of
no,
bloody
no.
risk. But thanks,
We
Chanel,
need
can
you.
I say there have been so many high-profile cases of abuse, sexual abuse, authorship abuse, financial abuse in our universities when a top inner-town person has been found out, sometimes decades later, can I say. But what we always forget is behind that story, yes, that guy ends up, ruined and career ruined and integrity gone. But how many PhD students' lives have been destroyed on the way through in that 10, 20, 30 years while that's
I can't because I don't want to start crying, but I was told in the beginning that people, like former students, suicided because of him, and I didn't believe. So, and then in the end I believed. So I don't want to cry, but I am still very angry because I had more material to keep ruining his life. So I was told, okay, you're a hero, just go on with your life, because he's not in jail, he's just humiliated, he's still there, but he can't get grants, he can't advise, he's just, he's old. But I could go. It's vendetta, totally. Like, it's very bad. And now I believe that some, like 2 or 3 students suicided because of him. Now, today I believe. I thought it was so absurd. I had just moved there and everybody was nice in the beginning. But I believe that it's literal. It's not just, oh, it was my dream. I really wanted to have PhD next to my name. But some people will give up life because of that.
Darling one, can I just say you are powerful. I mean, I'm feeling the energy through the screen. You are an amazing human being. Can I say, as the old nana in the conversation, I've often found you can be you can tear yourself up with sort of, if it takes the rest of my life, I'm going to do this person. Can I say, there is no doubt in my mind as an old woman now that the greatest revenge is success. And the greatest revenge is survival, because life is long, girlfriend. Life is long. And the weirdest things happen. You don't have to do too much. You just have to survive. And the moment will appear, my queen.
I am waiting.
And be cool with the wait, because I tell you what, it'll come. All right. But the most important is don't let the rage eat you up, because you are magnificent, and focus on the future, darling. You've got a beautiful brain, and your brain can change the world. So let's protect that brain. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Amazing.
Oh,
you're amazing. Let's go to Lorraine and then down to legendary Adam. So Lorraine, darling, where are you at on this, mate?
I was just going to make a comment about the group, the 1% PhD students. And I was thinking about, my research is to do with the veterans and motorcycle clubs and the 1% clubs, and how the 1% clubs refuse to conform to mainstream rules. And there's something there, because a lot of people really misunderstand anyway, I was just thinking, I don't really want to sound a 1%er. However, I just see some parallel there with the standing up. I've actually got a little sticky label here that says integrity. So I'm not going to share my story with why I have that there, but that really has kept me going through some tough times as well, dealing with some unscrupulous people.
Look, it's everything, Lorraine. And the trouble is, I'm so old now, I'm not sure that good guys get rewarded. You always say, oh, look, the great people, they'll, cream rises to the top. Well, so does crap, right? and that's the great problem. And the thing is, I don't think the great people end up finishing first. I don't think we do, but I think we can at least go to bed at night and finish our job knowing that we didn't hurt any other human on the way through. And I think that's a blessing.
Yeah.
But shall we go to the Adam zone to sort of finish us off? So Adam, who knew we'd have him this week? Oh, Megan, this has been I feel like a different person with Aisha. I tell you, we're gonna fight somebody. We're gonna fight. So Adam, where are we, darling?
So I actually had a completely different conversation I was going to start, but then my whole experience this week has, like, oh my God, and this whole rage is building up inside of me again. I thought I got through this. So without being too descriptive, a new hire official in my school was hired last year, and the mood in the atmosphere has taken quite a sour turn. It's also made, I also am the leader of a student group who helps get students engaged, and it is become very difficult. And now, and this week, this is not the first incident like this either, with this official, that it was like a nice like start of year event for the doctoral students and faculty to attend, and was basically point blank asked in front of a few other faculty, where are the other doc students at? And I'm like, this was my job to do that. Wait, what? What's happening here? This is not my event. I don't know. There's some over there, but she said, yeah, but what about the rest of them? And I said, and somehow superimposed that was my responsibility on the one of 5 hats that I'm wearing at the moment.
Yes.
So this is not like, I actually last year almost had to go to the provost office, or it's like the deputy vice chancellor equivalent.
Yeah.
Because it was, as one student told me, toxic. Yeah. And it still is. Yeah. And it's lit a fire under me to finish, but I'm having a small little hiccup to doing that this year. It looks like, but.
Right. Well, use me as it, and use all of us as you need us, gorgeous Adam. Can I just say, I was about to use the word toxic. I've done a lot of work on toxic workplaces and toxic universities. That's toxic. And what happened to you was it yesterday, that act, well, where are the doctoral students at? That's gaslighting. Just so you know, that is gaslighting. So just log that, because the thing about gaslighting is it's not one event. It's like bullying. You have to report it, and it is sort of like, oh, are the lights changing? No, there's no change. Just log them though, Adam. For me, just log the behavior and the unsettled behavior and the date and the time and the location. And then, because of course, what happens with gaslighting is you then report it and people go, oh, nothing's happened. This was just a chat at a soiree, you know, was nothing serious. But if you just log them for me, log the behaviors and how it made you feel, then, and just have sort of like a spreadsheet, and that's the way to create a change and an evidential chain, I think. Oh, yeah.
I'm writing it down right now. That's what I'm doing.
And look, I'll go straight to the light of our lives for just the last minute, if I can, Ian. Ian, any other, because you're great on this, any other advice to Adam about gaslighting and working through those behaviours?
From my own experience of having been through, you know, in a different context, a very similar thing. I haven't really found a solution that's worked for me. The only thing that I've found myself is to try to leave things behind and not to ruminate on it too much, because I ended up, you know, feeling as though it was very out of my control. There was also about communication. Something very important wasn't communicated to me about what was expected from me, and then I didn't meet that expectation. Then I got into trouble for it, and then when I questioned it, I was sent an email saying, Ian, there's such a thing as a gentleman's agreement. It's an unspoken agreement that everybody just has to know, and you didn't respect that. So very, very little I feel that I can do about it, actually. So
Ian beautifully said. So there are two, as we sort of reached the last minute, colleagues. Ian, thank you for that, mate, because I know you were on a hell of a journey. Adam, if you are able to log the behaviour, demonstrate the pattern, and then you go straight to the provost's office and it's got to be handled. Can I say Ian's strategy is another one, though? When you look at the research on narcissistic personalities, toxic workplaces, bullying and gaslighting, you either have to log the behaviour and go deep into the emotional hurt, or do what Ian has done, which is just go, I'm out, and scoop yourself out of the situation and get on with your life. Now, Adam, one good thing, if you can get that thesis done quickly, mate, you can probably do a bit of both.
The only concern I have about doing that, and I am all for that plan, is job.
Good point.
Is
Maybe
what
that's why I haven't done more. I haven't complained. I submitted complaints. I need my supervisor's reference for all my job applications.
Good point. So, Adam, what I would do is I would log it, because if they do escalate, then your health and your well-being is more important than any damn job, to be frank. But log it, but also let's get you through quickly and get you out. All right. Quickly to Jamie, and then I'll move as quickly to go, Jamie.
Someone's got some crosstalk.
I've got it.
So Gay and I are talking to each other in the chat, and Gay said that my comments have made her feel like I'm saying it's the student's fault, and I didn't mean that at all, Gay. What I was trying to say was that the supervisor has a responsibility to support the candidature. And if I can, I'm sorry for what's happened to you in your experience, Gay, but if anybody finds themselves in a situation where they feel that the supervisor is oppressing them in some way, all I was suggesting was what you might try to do if you're a student in that situation. If you don't feel that you can, or if you feel that you've tried and you've got nowhere, there is going to be a series of people in the institution that you can have as people who will help you. One of them is the Dean of Graduate Studies, of course, but there's also higher degree student coordinators in spaces, in schools, in academic units. You should feel that you can get representation. If you need someone to escort you to a conversation that's hard, get that person. If you need help and you don't know what to do, the Dean of Graduate Studies is the first port of call, and they will have all sorts of ideas and strategies on what to do.
Thank you, Jamie. And Gay, you are fantastic. You are a truly great human being. And what we've got to make sure that is that students never walk on their own. You're never alone. And this group is an example of that together we come up with solutions, but also we come up with solutions institutionally. That's the key. So this behaviour is not replicated. Colleagues, I thank you so much for this remarkable, provocative conversation. And Gay, you are amazing. Colleagues, you are the best. Beck, I'm going to have a long chat with you next week, darling one. Look after yourselves, colleagues, and see you in Right Club shortly. Bye-bye, my darlings. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good day, everyone.
You too, my